Hello everyone, welcome back to another Batman Battle Report. 350 rep of the Court of Owls versus a Joker crew. Last showing of this particular layout in Battlefield, although it has changed up a little bit. Let's just pretend it's, I don't know, like a couple of hours after the last one. Some more of the suspiciously looking 40k scenery in the middle has been unearthed, and some other things in the battlefield have changed, but more or less the same. We'll be back to the very busy, dense streets of Gotham next time, I think. Anyway, let's take a look at the crews today. So this is the Court of Owls crew, not just using the straight up bat box. It's a little bit hard to change up this crew outside of the bat box because they mostly have a rule that says you can only take Court of Owl affiliated units. They're not allowed to take anybody, free agents who are from unknown factions. But Damian Wayne can actually be taken in Court of Owl crew, League of Assassins and Brave and the Bold. So he's going to be replacing the Talon, as is the Talon's wish if you've seen that animated movie, to join the crew. So, being led by Lincoln Marsh with Zhao, Strix, and as the Court of Owls free agent, Gotham Butcher. Lots and lots of equipment across the Court of Owls crew here. Let's see, where's the notes? So Lincoln has taken Talon Serum Infusion, which lets him buff Court of Owl affiliated people, it wouldn't work on Damian, once per game. The Gotham Butcher has a Camel Vest and Ancient Training, and before you say anything, because free agents normally can't take gear like that, Court of Owl stuff specifically says free agents can take them, and that's to allow the Gotham Butcher to do so. Zhao has a Camel Vest as well, and Genetic Alteration, so he is fast, so +1 movement, essentially. And then Strix, Genetic Alteration for +1 movement, Ancient Training for, what does that give her again? Master Fighter, and a Grapple Gun. So pretty potent. We'll see what they can do against the Joker crew. Didn't mean for that to rhyme again. So here we have the hopefully in focus Joker crew being led by the Arkham Asylum Joker, backed up by free agent Clayface. Hopefully this time we'll get his upgrade cards done correctly. Joined by Bogran the Cursed, Buffoon who has a grapple gun, and Bogran has neurotropic drugs which give him fast and dodge, so +1 movement on top of what he has. Then from the Why So Serious box we have Joker's bus driver on the right there, and Grumpy? Yeah, Grumpy the Clown right there. So they've spent less funding, but should be pretty potent. They've got one model on the Court of Owls. Let's set up the sewer markers and whatnot and then see what scenario we're playing. So we'll give a rundown of the battlefield and also what objectives the crews have taken in a second. We're fools to ourselves. We're going to do the one scenario we've never played because it's a tedious bit of a setup. We're doing scenario 6 Ambush, where one team is a defending team that's got a 4-inch deployment right in the middle. It's 12 inches there and there. And then the enemy or the attacking crew has to split their attacking force in half with 4-inch deployment here, 4-inch deployment here. The defending team... See, this is the flaw with this particular mission type. The rules for the objectives for the defending team is one has to be in this deployment, one has to be in this deployment. The other one just does normal rules. The team that is defending is the team with the lowest number of models, so that's the Court of Owls in this scenario. The Court of Owls brought a bunch of expendable objectives because their goal is to get in and murder the enemy. So, what does that mean? Well, before we go over to the battlefield real quick, bonus victory points for killing the boss, and a bonus victory point for the first KO or casualty. We come over here. Court of Owls took the same objectives that they took last time, so riddles, the owls themselves, and loot. So what does that mean? Well, had to set up the riddle markers in the enemy deployment. So what did two of the clowns do? They're deployed next to it and they're going to use them up. So a sewer marker there. There's medicine for Joker's crew, Titan for Joker's crew, and ammo for them over there. 4-inch deployment kind of in a line down here for the Court of Owls. So Lincoln Strix, Gotham Butcher, Damian and Zhao. And over here, Clayface is started next to the loot belonging to the Court of Owls because it's in their deployment. Joker's hiding behind the storage container there, Bogran's there, and the owl markers are there, and there. But as I say, it wasn't random selection for the scenario this time, but depending on the objectives you take, you're just giving away free victory points to start the match. We're going to play it out because that's the way it plays, but there's definitely a fallacy with how scenario 6 is set up. Anyway, let's see who's going to get first activation in Battle Round 1, as I find another Sora's hair. It is going to be green for Joker, pink for Court of Owls, Joker is getting first activation. Clayface activated first for Joker's crew in Battle Round 1. Can already tell this is going to be a very quick by normal standards match because there's going to be a lot of fighting in Battle Round 1. Clayface does have really good movement though if you pile into his 3 move, plus he's huge, so that's an extra point. Anyway, he picked up the loot. Yeah, I think he has the role that protects him from being able to drop the loot as well because of his clay body. Either way, he charged, he got into contact with Zhao, did 2 blood and 2 stun. The loot will be moved onto his card now. To get things started, obviously he's exposed himself to the entire enemy crew, but if they all go after him, 1, he's fairly sturdy, and 2, it kind of lets the rest of Joker's crew just farm victory points, so we'll see what gets done. Battle Round 1, Schmattle Round 1 more like, as the Gotham Butcher decided to get a little bit of revenge against Clayface. He was having none of this. He charged in, claw at the ready. He did, well, it was 2 blood, 2 stun, plus the collateral die giving an extra stun and a knockdown. Normally huge models can't be knocked down unless it's achieved by a model who has the larger huge. Gotham Butcher also has huge, so therefore Clayface is knocked down, so anyone else who hits him this round is going to be hitting him on 2s. He may have regretted his actions. A couple of quick addendums about Clayface's rules. Because he was using his hard mud form or whatever, that gave him 4 bonus endurance, so that was obviously stripped in the damage he took, so that is no longer applied. He can reapply it. The mistake we made last time was thinking they could only be applied once per battle, but he can reapply it in Battle Round 2 if he wishes, just before the Raise the Plan phase, or during the Raise the Plan phase I think it is. So either way, it weathered the first 4 bits of damage he took. So as far as like his actual HP, only 1 stun carried over because you apply blood first. Also, he does have the clay body roll, which by the way you have to go by the back of his card because it's the up-to-date version of that rule. The version in the 2nd edition rulebook is not up to date. The up-to-date clay body rule says that if he's shot from a distance by anything that does bleed, it gets converted to stun. Doesn't apply to close combat though, so that was done right. Just covering that he did lose his upgrade card for this battle round. I'm not used to so much action kicking off in Battle Round 1, but I guess if we had the tall buildings of Gotham, they'd be less likely to have little brawls all breaking out at the very first turn. But it's a change of pace. We're dealing with stuff like this. Because Buffoon started right next to the riddle, he solved it, got a 5, it becomes a 4 because it's not his riddle, still gives Joker's crew 2 victory points. He then moved up and shot his Assault 3 nail gun into the back of the Gotham Butcher to no effect at all. I think he did actually make a hit roll, now that I think about it. He made, yeah, 1 hit roll landed, so just a scratch. So actually he did 1 stun from a just a scratch to the Gotham Butcher. We'll correct that on his card in a second. Back over to the Court of Owls next for their activation. Damian Wayne's had quite enough of getting killed, well, usually Battle Round 2, by something with a huge base. So he just moved next to Clayface and unleashed his attacks. He's handy and sharp anyway, so the fact he was hitting on 2s is, for a knockdown model is fairly irrelevant, but he did 4 blood, and that was applied directly to Clayface's card because he hasn't got an upgrade anymore, and also it's blood damage because it wasn't ranged. So on his card he's now up to 5 of 8 endurance, I think, so he's still kicking, so the Court of Owls are going to have to commit more people if they want to kill him this turn. We'll see what they do, but for now it's back to Joker. Grumpy the Clown activated next. He used the riddle he was right next to, got a 6, which becomes a 5 because it isn't his, for another 2 victory points. So the Court of Owls have just given up 4 victory points to Joker's crew, thanks to picking an objective before knowing the scenario and getting screwed, but not better or anything. Anyway, Grumpy then decided he couldn't clamber over this, but he walked around it, so he didn't have quite enough movement to get into contact with the medicine, but he's obviously heading towards there. Lincoln Marsh activated next, and he didn't go in on the pile-in on Clayface and opted instead to activate his flying ability on his armoured suit. He hopped on over into close combat with Grumpy, did an amazing 4 blood 4 stun. He has 5 endurance, so he is knocked out. So he came very close to being a casualty, but that does award the secondary objective for the scenario for being the first crew to get a knockout. Knockdowns don't count. So that's 1 victory point there at the very least. Can't claim the medicine because it's not theirs, but at least they got something done. Back over to Joker. Bulgrin the Cursed activated next, and he moved next to the Ammo to claim it. He has the stupid rule, so he can't manipulate it. Not that he really would ever need to, because he doesn't have a gun for a start. But he is claiming it, and now we're back to the Court of Owls. They just have Strix left, and then Joker's crew just has Joker left because his bus driver isn't on the field until next turn. Just finishing up the last 2 activations of Battle Round 1, because one of them was unexpectedly quick due to the mistake of where counters were placed. Strix activated and has gone to contest the ammo. Forgot to put anything in attack, so is just contesting, not attacking Bulgren over there. Then Joker activated. He was going to come and back up Bulgren, but there's so many people over here. He opted instead to kind of shuffle behind there, heading maybe for the Surgring or just to get a line of sight down here, we're not sure. So now it's time for rest and recovery. So as we recap Battle Round 1, just forgot to mention Zhao did not get an activation. Forgot that he was still conscious on 1 endurance. That meant because he had 3 defense used up when Clayface attacked him, he just had 1 attack left. He tried to strike at Clayface, 2+ to hit, but tough skin for a -1 on damage rolls meant that nothing changed. So just going over that real quick. Zhao did recover 1 stun in the recovery phase. Clayface did not, neither did the Gotham Butcher, and Grumpy did not wake up. As far as victory points, the Corvals got 1 for knocking out a henchman, and 1 for doing the bonus objective for the scenario. Joker's crew got 4 in total for 2 victory points per riddle solved, and 1 for the loot that Clayface is still able to hold on to. So, let's come back over here and see who is going first in Battle Round 2. It's going to be the Court of Owls. So as we start Battle Round 2, a quick addendum. Grumpy the Clown has the expendable rule, so he does not give up victory points for being knocked out. He only gives a victory point up if he has made a casualty. So he didn't give anything, so that's -1 to the score stated at the end of the turn. Anyway, the Court of Owls activated the Gotham Butcher. He attacked Clayface on the ground there, did 4 blood, 4 stun. The blood was the only thing that mattered. Clayface is dead, so the loot is going to be there once the model is removed. A quick thing about him applying his other stats, because he has mud form and solid form or rock form or whatever it's called. Went and double checked the Night Model's website. It only states that you can disable upgrade card and then presumably replace it at the start of your activation. It doesn't specifically say that's the only time you can activate a new upgrade card, but the mud form has 3 endurance and he only had 1 endurance left, so either way he still would have been made a casualty after that combat. Joker's bus driver, who arrived where you can see him via timely arrival at the start of Battle Round 2, stayed where he was and shot his shotgun into Strix. That is 8 inches. She has stealth, but he is able to see her. For 2 stun and 1 blood, and then as I say, he opted to stay still. Probably was considering teleporting via the sewer grating over here to claim the medicine. Doesn't want to do that while Lincoln is still there, presumably. So, over to the Court of Owls. Leaving Strix to her fate a little bit, but Damien activated next. He shuffled slightly because he wasn't in base to base with the loot, so a little bit awkward. But he has picked it up now, so it'll be on his card. He will get a ping if Buffoon opts to fire at him because the corner of the car is slightly obscuring his tiny frame. So we'll see if that makes a difference as we go back over to Joker. Bulgren, the Curse, activated next, and in case you're wondering why he's positioned where he is, it's so that he's out of 4 inches of both the owl markers that are on either side of him there. He took some swings at Strix, however, he whiffed, so he did no damage, but at least he is avoiding getting or giving up some extra victory points depending on what happens moving on. A couple of activations to cover. Zhao activated next for the Court of Owls. Did not have enough movement because counting jumping over the wall was impaired movement, so it needs 2 inches rather than 1. So he couldn't quite make it into contact. He doesn't have reach on his weapons, so he's moving to help out Strix but wasn't able to do anything this turn. Then back over to Joker, and Buffoon fired his final shot of his nail gun, full rate of fire at 5, managed to do 1 blood to the Gotham Butcher. He then moved into contact and manipulated the Titan container for a Titan dose. Lincoln Marsh activated next. He attacked, I was going to call him Buffoon, that's not Buffoon, that's Grumpy, on the ground, did 4 blood, 4 stun. The stun gets discarded because he was already knocked out. The blood applies though. Did I say 4 and 4? It was 4 and 2. The 2 blood was enough to take him over his endurance cap though, so he's now been made a casualty and has given up a victory point. Lincoln then moved over next to another giant one of Sora's hairs and is staying put there. So there was 2 activations left in Battle Round 2, however it's become 1. Joker moved next to the sewer grating there and used his once per game 1-shot gun for 3 special. It's an automatic hit when a target within 8 inches, picked Strix. Still have to roll to wound, but with the firearm roll it's a 2+. It does 3 blood, and then if it gets a crit result, which it did in this case, it does another 3 blood. So she was already wounded, but it wouldn't have mattered. She has 6 endurance, so that would have been enough just to kill her outright. and Court of Owl crews give up bonus victory points when they become casualties. So that was very good. Bogren is not touching the ammo though, however, so that is not claimed, because they moved there specifically to be out of range of those owls. So the ammo's not giving up any points, but Strix did. So now we're straight on to rest and recovery, because she was going to be the last activation. At the end of battle round 2, Zhao recovered a stun, the Gotham Butcher did not. In terms of victory points, 4 in total for a free agent being made a KO then casualty. Damien holds the loot. The Joker crew got 2 for the Titan container. Also, Buffoon is using his Titan container because you have to declare it at the raise the plan phase for the next turn, so he is using it. They also got 1+1 again for a henchman being made KO / then a casualty in the form of Strix, and then +1 on top of that because of the reanimated owl rule. So I think the Joker crew is still ahead, not by as much. Very bloody match. Let's see who is getting first activation in battle round 3. It is going to be Court of Owls. Battle round 3 activated, or started rather, with Lincoln Marsh activating here, activating Fly to give himself a boost to movement. He went all the way over here, engaged both Joker's bus driver and the man himself. He has martial artist, so he doesn't get a penalty for that. He did put all his attacks with his owl knife into the bus driver, managed to do 4 blood. He has 5 endurance unfortunately, so he's still standing, but bloodied their nose a little bit and hopefully forced them to draw attention to him. Bogren the Cursed activated next, took his 4 attack dice and swung into Zhao prior to moving. This was, did a staggering 6 blood, 1 stun. Zhao was already pretty heavily wounded, that alone would have been enough to kill him. He is a casualty, so the normal bonus points for a henchman being made knocked out then a casualty, plus the bonus 1 for him being reanimated. Then Bogren moved into contact with the ammo. That is pretty devastating. The Gotham Butcher activated next. He did want to go after Bogren the Cursed, however he had nothing in movement because he wanted to do full attack, so he couldn't reach him. So instead he went for the only target he could reach, which was Buffoon. He whiffed spectacularly on his wound rolls, not his hit rolls. And it was 2 pluses, 2 pluses, so that's kind of bad. He only did 1 blood, 1 stun. He did get the knockdown, but Buffoon hasn't had a turn, so he will be able to stand up this activation. But at least he did a little bit of damage, but it could have been a lot better. Joker activated for his crew next, and he took some swings with his crit poison knife at Lincoln. Was not able to crack the power armor, medium armor though, so he was unable to do anything. He opted to stay in the fight though. He has Protect Me, so he can also make the henchman there take a blow for him if he needs to. So he's hanging in there. And now let's see, the Court of Owls just has Damien left, and then Buffoon for Joker to see the turn off. This really is a quick one as we round up battle round 3. Damien used his backlot to get into contact to contest the ammo and take some swings at Bogren. Did remember that he had to spend 1 extra movement because he's holding on to the loot. He did 4 blood damage to Bogren, which is almost half health. He has, I think he has 10 in total. Yeah, so good damage. He may end up being squished. The prophecy may be fulfilled next battle round, we'll see. And then to round off the turn, Buffoon just stood up, took 1 swing at the Gotham Butcher and did not do anything with it. At the end of battle round 3, the Gotham Butcher and Buffoon both regened 1 stun each. There's no knockouts to cover because everyone who was knocked out is dead. In terms of victory points, the Court of Owls got 1 victory point for Damien holding the loot, but that is it. For Joker's crew, their objectives that have their models next to them are being contested. Damien's contesting the ammo and the Gotham Butcher is contesting the Titan, but they did get 1 bonus victory point for knocking Zhao out, 1 bonus victory point for making him a casualty, plus 1 bonus victory point from being a reanimated owl on top of that. So that's keeping them out in front quite comfortably. We'll see what happens as we go into battle round 4. It's more likely the Joker will get first activation here. Let's see. Yep, Joker's crew is getting first activation. Start battle round 4, a quick apology, we totally forgot the Joker's bus driver did not get an activation last turn, so he simply moved backwards, shot into Lincoln to no effect. This turn he activated first, he did the exact same thing with his final bullet, and didn't get through the power armor again to no effect. So we did remember, but it made no difference. Damien activated first for the Court of Owls this activation. He only did 2 blood to Bogren, he didn't have nearly as many attacks because he put everything into defense, and he's having to stay there to contest the ammo, but at least he did a bit more damage. Bogren is over half dead now, so he's starting to feel it. Bogren tried to retaliate next. He only had 2 attacks thanks to being wounded and having 1 in defense as well. He rolled a 2 and a 1 for his first attempts. He has handy, so he tried again and rolled Snake Eyes. Disastrous, but it's about time something started going in the Court of Owl's favour, honestly. Buffoon activated next and managed to do 1 entire stun damage to the Gotham Butcher. The Gotham Butcher activated after that because we want to force Joker to activate before Lincoln does, and did a massive 3 blood, 3 stun to Buffoon. Buffoon already had 1 blood left over on him. He has 4 endurance, so he is a casualty, and he does not have the expendable rule, so that's 2 victory points, not 1. So to see at this battle round, Lincoln decided to just use his unarmed claw attacks, which give him combo as opposed, no rerolls, but numerous number of hits as opposed to rerolls. Joker had 4 defense dice, but that did not stop him taking a pretty bad hit of 3 blood, 3 stun and a knockdown to see out this turn. We'll see if he can recover anything. I think he had a couple of bonus and special, we'll see when we come back in a second. See, at battle round 4, the Gotham Butcher did not regenerate any of his stun damage, neither did the Joker. As far as victory points, the Court of Owls had 1 for the loot, a total of 2 for making a casualty of a henchman who didn't have the expendable role, and Joker's crew earned nothing because both of, well, they now only hold 1 objective and it's contested. Not sure if Lincoln was within 4 inches of an owl marker when he knocked down Joker, but, well, for 1 it has to be victory points gained, not knockdowns. And 2, he's the leader, so it doesn't apply to them anyway. So, let's see. These are going to be some very quick final turns. Both crews have 3 models left. I think of the models left, the Court of Owls now have the advantage, but points-wise I think they're still losing. It will be the Court of Owls who are getting first activation in battle round 5, which means Joker's crew is going first in the final battle round. So to begin the penultimate battle round and to take advantage of Joker being sprawled out on the floor, Lincoln activated and struck out at Joker. He, well, we totally forgot to use the Talon Serum at all. Used it this turn, so anyone with the reanimated owl roll gets +1 to damage rolls just to help guarantee some damage. Did 3, that brings him I think to like 5 or 6 blood in total, but enough plus the stun to knock him out. So that's a 4 victory point boon for the Court of Owls there, for knocking out a leader. Whether or not they go for the casualty, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. 2 activations to cover here, and as we said, a very fast turn. Bogren activated, he attacked Damien, did nothing to him. Damien activated and did 4 blood to him. With the 6 he already had, that is exactly enough to kill him. Damien opted to stay with the ammo in case the bus driver tried to be cheeky and claim it. Speaking of which, the bus driver is the only one who's conscious and not dead for Joker to still activate, and then the Court of Owls have the Butcher, so we'll probably just quickly do both those activations and wrap up turn 5. Joker's bus driver activated and fleed into the sewer marker next to his unconscious boss all the way down here, maybe hoping to grab the medical on the final battle round. Unfortunately for him, the Gotham Butcher had everything in movement, on top of him being huge and fast, etc. Gives him like 13-14 inches of movement in total. He was over here with the Titan, he just bounded across here, so he's contesting the medical. He's not touching it, however, but it's pretty obvious to see how this is most likely to go. The Joker crew is not going to be able to capture or gain victory points in the final battle round. Off camera we rolled to see whether or not Joker passed an endurance roll, a willpower roll to, well, endurance, whichever, to wake up. Because if he could wake up in the final battle round, it's possible something would happen. There's his attempt, he failed it, so the Joker crew is just going to concede there. So we'll be back with the final scores. So all in all, that was one very quick, probably the quickest game we've played. It helps that we're getting used to the rules, although obviously there's still potentially been mistakes. Apologies if there has been any. We try very hard here to get the rules right, but there's so many of them. But yeah, that was interesting. I am curious how it would have played out if we were playing in a more standard buildings or building dense map. But believe it or not, for most of that, the Joker crew was winning. It would have only taken one, like if Damien had went down, the loot would have been lost. Plus he gives up a bonus victory point as well. So honestly, like if he'd gone down, that would have been a win for the Joker's crew. That's also assuming we don't play, well, as I've said before, we don't play the rule here where if you lose half your crew you run away and lose automatically, because it's a terrible rule. You fight to the finish, as they say. But yeah, in terms of the final scores, the Joker's crew had 13 victory points, the Court of Owls had 16, so as you can see, like very close. Damien could have swung that by 2 or 3 depending on which turn he went down in. If the final turn had played out with nothing better to do, Lincoln and Damien both could have tried to kill Joker, they probably would have succeeded. I think that's only 1 or 2 victory points extra. The Gotham Butcher would have had a very high probability chance of killing Joker's bus driver, who was already wounded. Mind, he has, I think he only had one endurance left over, so it's very likely it could have just been a tabling, so saving face a little bit. It felt like the Court of Owls were set up to lose, and yet they just pulled back. It's interesting how it would have been if there was like more guns in play, or if it was a tougher crew taking like both sides of the table. But that was enjoyable. It'll be a brand new table next time, hopefully a very city dense one with some new crews or new models, at least to sample them. Thank you for the support of these videos I've seen. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Ta for now.